well, thank you so much for that truly delightful introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us for the next half an hour or so. As Savannah said, I'm Jordan, co-founder and CEO of Medley, and this is my co-founder, Edith. Medley is a community that supports people's personal and professional growth. When people join Medley, we personally match them with a group of 6 to 8 other people who share a common goal for their growth journey. And over the next 30 minutes, the title, Connected Future of Personal and Professional Growth, we hope that you leave with 2 takeaways that may be useful to you in your own journey of continuous learning, which we are all on, and 2 insights that may be applicable for any team that you're building or leading or that you're a part of. We interact with hundreds and thousands of people who are really invested in their growth journey, and just want to share some of those insights with all of you, as well as some of the experiences that we've had building Medley for the past 3 years. And so before we dive in, quick intros are in order. The piece that does not come off about Edith on her resume and on her numerous professional accomplishments, she is the definition of a continuous learning, of a lifelong learner. She spent 30 years in finance, including 20 years at Goldman Sachs, 10 years she ran human capital management there, which is HR. And after that, she decided to retire and join an early stage startup with me. That was not retirement at all. She put herself in a situation where she was completely starting from zero in terms of learning how to operate and grow an early stage business. But this sense of embracing comfort, embracing discomfort, embracing challenge is, I think, one of the most defining things about Edith, and something that I feel so grateful to get to learn from her about every single day. Edith, do you want to introduce me very quickly?
Sure. So hi, everybody, and thanks for spending the next few minutes with us. It really is a thrill to be here and to introduce Jordan not as my daughter, but as my co-founder of Medley. I really figured out a long time ago that I may know something, maybe a few things, but really where I was really able to make stuff happen and evolve was when I surrounded myself with super, super smart people, and that is Jordan. Ideally, super, super smart people who, quite frankly, are not, certainly from an age vantage point, my peer, and not necessarily only people who are further down their life career path than I am, but those that are at a different stage, a stage which I would say is the future, and that is Jordan, and that's what we're building with Medley. We really are building a movement that really encompasses what everybody needs, which is an opportunity to connect to other human beings in a real, authentic way, to learn and grow. Super, super data-oriented, super, super nerdy. I'm sorry, I have to say that, babe. But also very, very thoughtful about how other people matter in one's universe, and it was really her vision that led us to creating Medley, and that's why we're here today. I'll just spend 1 minute on the backdrop of this. First of all, it's really amazing that we're gathered here, right? I mean, I don't know. For so long, I wondered whether we'd ever get back to this buzz, the energy in the room, and here we are. But it doesn't mean that we can look beyond or ignore the experience of the last couple of years. When we first started thinking about Medley, we envisioned it as an in-person experience, and the conversations we had originally were, wait, is it an app? Like, what do you mean in person? What do you mean human interaction? Like, why does that matter? And those were the early days, but fast forward, we've all been through, endured in varying degrees of challenge and tragedy, multiple types of pandemics, and we know for sure that we have to be able to connect, interact, learn with, and for the benefit not just of ourselves, but for other people. And that's what Medley is. It's an opportunity to create a center of gravity around how we interact with people, how we listen, how we are authentic, and how we can speak truth in a safe place that enables us to do that in other aspects of our life. So that's the backdrop. That's why we're here. And Jordan, why don't you get us started into the lessons that we'd like to share?
Absolutely. So just, picking up a little bit on our growth philosophy at Medley and how we've structured it and how we ultimately got to where we are today. The spark of building the business really came from a couple of Edith and my shared experiences. I've always been someone who has really thrived in the context of teams and groups and communities, whether it's in a university context or even at work, but found in my mid to late 20s that it's really, really hard to find that team and to have that sense of team in your life in an ongoing basis, especially as you continue through adulthood. I took a leadership course at business school where the bulk of the learning took place in a group of 6, 2 hours every week, and the level of trust and vulnerability was absolutely transformative. I became obsessed with understanding groups and how people can learn in groups, and realized that there's actually incredible benefits that come from hearing about other people's perspectives and growth journeys. And we also found that coaching is just a fascinating industry that has a ton of opportunities. So I'd be curious, how many people in the audience have worked with a coach in any context? Okay, a decent amount. How many have thought about it? Okay, so that's a lot of people who are covered there. It's really hard to find a coach. It's very inaccessible due to cost. And it's really difficult to understand what quality coaching looks like and how that could work for you. And so what we saw there, both at the intersection of A, how powerful small groups can be, and B, how incredible, really good coaching can be, we decided to develop a model for group coaching that's really centered on balancing both individual growth and collective learning from people's shared perspectives. And one of the first things that we identified that's really consistent with adult learning theory is actually the importance of agency in an individual when they're learning and hoping to make some sort of shift and change. It has to be self-initiated. People really need to feel empowered in whatever direction they're trying to go. And so actually how we've incorporated that into the business is that the group actually helps shape the topics and the areas of focus that they experience throughout the journey. The old model of self-improvement being very individual guided and focused on the self we see is really broken. I'm sure many of you have listened to countless podcasts, blog posts, people on Twitter saying, do these 10 things and X is going to happen. But the accountability is a really key point that's missing from what's out there. And that's where Medley's groups kind of come in. A couple of things that we believe are really, really critical that we've also sort of learned in this process is how incredible it can be when you're actually with other people that are not in your day-to-day routine and in your day-to-day
Absolutely, right.
rhythm. And in any given day, you're interacting with people who are likely at your workplace, potentially friends, your social circle, and that can be incredible. And I really very personally much value my relationships with friends, but it also, you're also missing out on what other perspectives could look like. And so instead of matching people into groups that are based on just job title and things like that, we actually take a really expansive point of view. And that's been a consistent piece of feedback actually from our community, that people really value the chance to get to know others outside of their day-to-day. Want to share some of our insights as well around building a business. But Edith, I'd be curious, I'm just going to put you on the spot here. When you think about some of the other learnings that you've had as an entrepreneur and as a founder, what's the first thing that's come up to mind?
Hard. Really hard. And I think that I heard in the previous conversation, there was a comment on how, we hear about the end, right? Where, there's a unicorn or things are rocking and rolling. But it's a journey, and it's not a journey that's a straight line. You could and will be confronted with the unexpected, and certainly I would not have planned that there would be multiple pandemics in our way. But having said that, there's going to always be something, and it is really important to really understand commitment, the passion, the focus that it takes to keep moving forward. On the other side of that, though, is extraordinary opportunity to explore, to test, to try, and then to try again. And I think that is one of the biggest, most exciting differences than my experience growing up in a large corporate construct versus, where I spend my time now, which is, then, there's a lot of talk about innovation and collaboration, and certainly those things, collaboration has to happen in any organization. But in terms of innovation, it's really tough, especially if you have a strong position in a marketplace, to take risks and break things. And really, the incentive structures that exist often don't support that. What it supports is, progress in the number of customers you have, and the revenue that you generate, and et cetera, et cetera. And so, what that does not enable is an environment where people can really challenge people openly, try new things, and it's really been companies that have taken that on as they've grown that I think have become the most, relevant and complicated companies that exist. And so that has been incredibly interesting and inspiring. The other thing is that you have an opportunity to, and that's what we're doing with Medley, is to create categories, right? So we really believe that everyone should have Medleys. The encouragement to go out and talk to people that you haven't spoken with and connect in ways that you haven't before is really an encouragement for you to go and create an expansion of your Medley, right? To walk away with 5 people that you didn't know that you might want to know who can help you take your thinking to another level. And that kind of creation of and framing of a new way of people interacting is super, super exciting to me and to us. For so many years I heard people talk about increasingly the impact of their work and their true self at work, et cetera. And to be honest, a decade ago I was like, impact of work, you do well, you work hard, you stay focused, you provide, you maybe get a promotion here or there. Fulfillment, yeah, because I get to work with smart people all the time. Purpose, mission, all of those things, it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds compelling. But what we're doing here is about that. It's about, how do we reframe the way people think about connecting with each other? And that's just been super, super exciting for me.
Edith mentioned something around finding your Medley, and when we think about what a Medley is, the definition is a mix of people or things, but for us, a Medley really represents a group of people, a trusted group of people that you can go to, and I'm of the belief, really, that anybody should have and can have access to a group like this. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be a board of advisors. People have a lot of different methods of creating these types of groups for themselves. But I think a few tenets that are really important and really valuable that we've learned is really ensuring a level of alignment around trust and commitment to one another that enables you to have the safety to have those discussions, to share your growth journey with each other. And that's really something that, we try to put out there in the world, is how can we encourage people to be really thoughtful about creating space for connection and reflection in their life, something that I think has really been lost in the past several decades.
So, Jordan, let me ask you a question. Maybe it's the same one back at you. Tell all of us, share with us your thoughts on the Medley journey to date, and what has surprised you the most as we've invested ourselves in creating these Medleys.
What surprised me the most? I think I thought it would be difficult, and I thought it would be hard work. I don't think I anticipated the emotional, close relationship that I have with the business. It feels very personal. I think that's also combined with the fact that I work with my mother.
She called me mom. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny
those
now.
Precious moments.
On weekends, I still refer to her by Edith, and I think every time I do, her soul crushes a little bit. But, I had to make that switch as we started to grow our team. But yeah, it's very personal, and every no hits me deep in my soul, and I think on the flip side of that, when I look back to how I managed the burden of really trying to, building a company is crazy. Like the idea of, I'm going to try to create something that is new, that no one really knows, like nobody knows who we are, nobody knows what we're trying to do, and I'm just going to try to do it and then convince other people to do it with me, and then convince other people to give me money, and then try to do it again. And it's absolutely insane, and I think that I just did not realize how challenging that would be. But at the beginning, I would let that sort of fear affect me, and I would let that fear sit with me. And before fundraising meetings, I was really struggling with doubt. Like I was really struggling with a lot of self-doubt. And ultimately, we ended up raising a pre-seed round about a year into the business. We raised a seed round last year. The process was completely different. We went into it with a lot more confidence, and we ended up raising a little under $4 million. And Dreesen led the round, and we were like, wow, this is absolutely crazy. But I think it's still really hard, despite the fact that I know and believe to my core that what we're doing is important. It's still hard to manage just the personal nature of that, and still feeling that sort of sense of imposter syndrome at every step.
Yeah, I guess the reality is that it is personal, right? Because you're investing your time, our energies, our commitment. We have a team, and we should spend a little bit of time talking about how important that is, because it's now not just about us, it's about trying to create that environment. Not trying, we have to create an environment where everyone on our team thrives to their potential and beyond. That's what's going to really create success in Medley, and all of those things are a sense of real responsibility. I'd say, though, that we've talked about this. For every moment of imposter syndrome, we speak to a member, right? And we hear how their experience has really been transformative for them. And that just is fuel. It's fuel. And in the old days of, I can't even say how many decades ago, started out as a salesperson. And, it was not my favorite job. But I did really start to enjoy it, because I began to think about the decision making that went through someone's head as to do business with me or not. And then all of a sudden it was like game on, right? Because a no gave me an opportunity to move someone to yes, and understanding how to connect with people and how to negotiate and all of those things. And so all of that stuff, I think, has led to being in a position now where we care so deeply about our mission and our purpose that, okay, say no. Let's talk about it. If you can get to the conversation, you lose that imposter syndrome, at least for that conversation.
100%. Staying close to our members, staying close to our coaches, it's absolutely fuel for the soul. And I think, one of the trends you brought up earlier around just this intersection of work-life balance is like out the window. Everything is totally blended. People are working from home. People are working in coffee shops. Like, who knows where people are working? I think that's just been another really interesting evolution as we've also thought about building the team and how to create a culture where people can continue to learn despite the fact that there's just such blurred boundaries. And I think on that front, a big personal learning for me has just been in really trying to own my own values and my own recipe for what I want to prioritize in my life. And that's actually shown up a lot in our community. People really believe and they see that there's not this perfect path that people are striving towards that they think is, I'm going to go to A and then I'm going to go to B and then I'm going to have, the white picket fence, and it's like, this is all going to work. It's just not the world anymore. And there's so many different versions of what life can look like, what work-life balance can look like, how people prioritize investing in their careers versus their family. And it's the continuous journey. But, owning your own decisions is something that people really value and has been really positive. So I want to be mindful of making sure we have time for questions, if anyone has questions. And I'll pass it over to,
But
sequence.
There was Edith requested the return of the sequence.
She did.
So
I saw it on a
they're
chair.
back.
I was like, seriously? You wore that? Now you did. It looks good.
All for you, baby. All for you. How lovely are they? Just real quick. Can we get like a real quick clap? That is just absolutely brilliant. Thank you both. My goodness. So I just want to ask before I get first dibs, because that's the perk of being me. How often do you call her mom versus Edith? So I was curious in the way that you address each other.
90% Edith, 10% mom.
Yeah.
95%
And
Edith.
are you the same?
What?
Daughter,
Call her mom?
daughter, baby, goose,
That was my
pumpkin,
version of a
or
joke.
Judith?
No, I usually call her Jay, actually, or Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Jay.
Sweetie sometimes.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was, it's all business on the front here. I love it, but you're still mom and daughter.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, and that's one of the things that it's like a classic example of how you have to be thoughtful and intentional about making space, right? So, because that's my nature. It's Jordan's nature too. Like, I'm in it, and it could be 24 hours a day, and I don't really need to be calling Jordan and her husband as they walk their dog at 7:00 in the morning. Like, it can really wait. And so, we've really had to make sure, I particularly have had to make sure to not let our relationship at work overshadow the relationship we have as mother or daughter, because I've done that before. It's a big sacrifice. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people end up working with people that they love, whether they be siblings, children, parents, whatever. How do you balance that, Jordan?
Whew. I love it, actually. I'm someone who loves the overlapping nature of my life. I think I wouldn't have gone into working with my mother otherwise. But I think it's just, I'm really disciplined about setting aside time for reflection for myself, to just check in and be like, is this working for me? Is this not working for me? And if something's not working, how can I communicate and make some sort of change? So, right now I feel great about how the balance is feeling. We have family visiting later this week. We're going to take Friday off together and hang out with family. But I will say it's just, you have to be really intentional.
Love that. You both seem extremely self-aware. Great, underrated quality, I think, in leaders. All right, I'm going to stop hogging. Yeah, you get number 1 slot. Love that initiative. Go for it.
Ladies, I'm so just impressed by your posture, the way you're communicating. I love the love that exudes between you. But I want to talk about that fear that you're not allowing to impact you. How did you go after raising seed for a quote-unquote non-tech initiative? A lot of VC money goes right to tech, moves way over women, but you had a idea, you had a vision of something. How did you go after what it is you were going after?
We definitely got some pushback, and we definitely had to be very clear and confident in, what we were doing and where we are. And, our lead investor, they are notorious for investing in technical founders. And notorious, or it's part of their special sauce, who knows. But what we believe and what we articulated really well was that for our business, the expertise is not in coding the platform to facilitate groups to meet. It's actually in how to design the experience and how to create these environments where people can really connect and perform to their potential, which Edith is one of the best people in the world at. And then B, the credibility to actually build this and deliver this to an audience. And so what we realized was, hey, neither Edith nor I are engineers. We're not building like AI for dog sitting or something like that, which actually probably should exist.
Low-key free idea for
anyone want an
in
idea?
the audience who wants to swoop that.
But for our specific business, there is relevant expertise in our background that's critical for this business to succeed and is a unique competitive advantage. And so I think, and I know before we did any meetings, before we ran our seed process, we got a lot of feedback. We got a lot of questions from friendlies, people who were investors, people who were other founders, really just picking apart and and helping us hone our story and our narrative.
Yeah, it was really critically important.
So that we went into it and said, hey, we know that this is like who we are, but no one else could do this the way that we're doing this, and that's why. So it helped us fight back against the fear before the meeting.
But in that process, you have to have clarity of thought of where you need to listen and where you need to incorporate and where you just need to say, thanks for your perspective, next conversation. Because everyone's not going to get it. Everyone's not going to be a believer. And that's okay as long as you are taking away the tangible things you should be thinking about from every conversation. So you kind of have to leave your ego out there, outside of the room, so that you can just take it all in, and when people say things that are just absurd, you just have to not shut down and go, okay, yeah, thanks, goodbye, but say, oh, that's really interesting perspective. Why do you think that? You ask a follow-up question like, why do you think that? All of a sudden it's like, and I also think, to be honest here, we raised our seed after having pivoted from an in-person concept to a virtual one, and the world is raw, right? And it's still raw, and it's raw with the sense of the significance of how we are as humans going to play in anything, in it together. Not play literally, but just work together, live together, not despise each other, not tear each other apart. And so they are huge information hounds, people who are investing money. And they heard what we heard, which is something is different. We're not going to be just the way we were before. And where are the solutions out there that are going to help solve this pain point? Because it's about pain point that leads to opportunity. And I think that I hate to say that the challenges that we've been through as a society opened the aperture of the potential for Medley, but it did.
I love that. That was actually such a beautiful answer, and given our time constraint, I'm going to just call it. Y'all are going to be around in case they want to ask a question for after this? Okay, wonderful. I know we have so I'm going to hold the applause just for 3 seconds because there's going to be some exciting things that happen, but then we're going to give them the best round of applause ever. So if you are about to move, when you start clapping your hands, please clear way in the middle of the aisle here, because very soon there will be a table for the wonderful book signing that is going to start in about 4 minutes. Now, somehow we are going to make this happen in an orderly fashion. Ideally, as you clap from the middle rows, just kind of creep out, or just be the first in line, which is just a really convenient advantage for you all. If you could scoot your chair a little bit to the side, though, just so people don't get wild, that would be absolutely rad. Honestly, this was so delightful. I just want to echo everything that you said. Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take a compliment from or appreciate a compliment from. I think by getting a ton of advice, I just love that.
And just one thing to add.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or interested in learning more about Medley in any capacity, you can reach out to us. We're founders@withmedley.com. The email will be sent to both of us.
Where else can they find you? LinkedIn, Twitter,
all the above. Our
Instagram.
website's withmedley.com. That's our handle on a bunch of things too. So
fantastic. Yeah. Ladies, gentlemen, and anyone who identifies as anything else, please give everyone a round of applause right here.
Thank you.